Tonight on To The Point, nearly a dozen wildfires burning across the state, where progress has been made.
A heat advisory issued across California, how high temperatures will get and the impacts we'll be facing.
Following 3 deaths in the Sacramento County Jail, tonight we ask what's going on. And later, more Californians are being turned off by solar. Why the cost of going green is changing.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and tonight we are tracking several wildfires right here in Northern California. We start tonight in Calaveras County, where the Aero Fire is burning near the town of Copperopolis along Byron's Ferry Road. Crews have been making progress since the fire started on Monday, and CAL FIRE says it burned 54 acres and is now more than 30% contained. 3 structures have been destroyed and another was damaged. Right now, evacuation orders remain in effect for parts of Calaveras County on both sides of Rock Creek Road. And new tonight, 2 men from Stockton have been arrested inside of a Calaveras County evacuation area. Deputies say they were patrolling an area last night when they found 2 brothers with burglary tools and stolen mail from nearby homes.
And we saturated the area, specifically the areas that were evacuated, with mutual aid resources. We received clear direction from our sheriff and undersheriff to treat looters with a 0 tolerance.
As crews work to fully contain the fire and restore electricity, deputies and firefighters will not be letting their guard down anytime soon. In Colusa County, we are tracking the Sites Fire. It's burning along Sites Ladoga Road and Wilson Creek near Stony Ford. It's burned more than 16,000 acres and is 10% contained. Evacuations are ongoing in the Leesville, Antelope Valley Ranch and Sites areas. Meanwhile, in Sonoma County, crews are working to contain the Point Fire. It's burning near Stewart's Point and Skag Springs near Merlot Lake. CAL FIRE says it's burned 1,200 acres and is 60% contained. Right now, crews have a perimeter around the fire and are working to hold those lines. And we know that wind and high temperatures impact our fire risk. Let's check in with meteorologist Carly Gomez for the conditions that we can expect tonight. Carly.
Yeah, luckily tonight we're not going to see a huge wind gust pushing through. We're going to get the typical Delta breeze that pushes through our area, right through the Bay and in through the Delta and areas around Sacramento. Further north, there's still going to get a little bit of wind up there, but luckily most of it and that smoke will begin shifting its way toward the northwest. Cooler conditions there, and this is where we're looking at the Sites Fire today. We did see a lot of that smoke moving through the valley tonight. We're going to continue to see that smoke shifting toward the north. And as we get that look at some of that smoke, we're seeing some of that into our overnight early morning hours, spreading into the foothill spots and north, and then also right around the Sites Fire, also moving northwest. Meanwhile, the valley remains at least much better when it comes to breathability. But as we start moving into the afternoon again tomorrow, we'll see those hazy impacts pushing into our valley spots once again. This will continue with the diurnal cycle as we move through the weekend. Air quality is still moderate right now, so not too bad. Something to consider, though, the heat advisory this weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up.
All right, Carly, thank you. And as we continue to track the fire danger, make sure that you download the free ABC 10 app and don't forget to turn on those notifications. All right, tonight an Antelope neighborhood wants answers as they continue to deal with squatters and strangers coming into their community. It's a story that we first brought you in April after a home there with a history of problems caught on fire. Neighbors on Country Run Way tell us that over the last 2 weeks, squatters and the homeless have returned. Our one neighbor tells us that just yesterday they walked out of their home to find what appeared to be someone sleeping or passed out on the sidewalk.
Had someone come through my backyard, and you would think your backyard is safe, but I don't feel like my backyard is safe.
Residents say they have contacted law enforcement, county code enforcement, and the property owner about the issue, but they feel that their concerns are falling on deaf ears. And we also reached out to the sheriff's office, who is looking into the situation. We also contacted the county about the neighbors' concerns, and we'll let you know once we have an update. All right, the pro-Palestinian encampment at UC Davis was removed today. Protesters from Davis Popular University of the Liberation of Palestine say they are decamping due to what they say is a breakdown of negotiations with the UC president and regents. No word yet on the group's next steps. The California State Senate has approved a proposal that could ban school districts from requiring teachers to notify parents if their child asks to go by a new name or pronoun at school. And it's part of a nationwide debate over local school districts and the rights of parents and LGBTQ+ students. The goal is to protect students whose safety could be threatened if they live in unwelcoming households. The bill will now head to the state assembly, where it would need to pass in committees and on the floor before it can reach the desk of Governor Newsom. 3 inmates at the Sacramento County main jail have died within the past month and a half, and it's really caused us to ask, what is going on? ABC 10's Becca Habegger spoke with county officials to get more answers.
On May 5th, 45-year-old Lope Tolosa was found unresponsive by himself in an area that houses inmates detoxifying from substances. He'd been in custody for about 3 days. Less than a week later, on May 12th, 55-year-old David Bearfield died during the fingerprinting process while being booked into jail. This was shortly after the medical staff cleared him for incarceration. And on June 8th, 29-year-old Smiley Martin was found unresponsive in his cell. Sheriff's Office spokesperson Sergeant Amar Gandhi says there's nothing to indicate suicide or criminal intent played any role in these deaths.
Medical care seems to be the #1 issue right now of everything going on in our facilities, and unfortunately it's something that we have zero sphere of control over.
That's because the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office oversees the county's 2 jails, but Sacramento County Adult Correctional Health, separate from the Sheriff's Office, oversees all medical care within those jails.
They handle everything from not only just the care, administering of medication, but also the hiring, the selection, the background, the vetting of every adult correctional health employee that comes in there.
He says understaffing within adult correctional health means long wait times during the booking process, since every inmate who comes to the jail has to be medically cleared before being incarcerated. And the officer who arrested the suspect has to remain with them until they're medically cleared.
If your patrol officer is in our jail for 3 to 4 hours of that 10-hour shift, that means they're not on the street. They're not responding to your call.
A county spokesperson tells ABC 10 the jail has vacancies for 1 physician, 3 registered nurses, 10 licensed vocational nurses, 2 supervising RNs, and 2 medical assistants. And the county is actively recruiting for those positions.
When there's a rash of deaths, I think that that is a reason for oversight officials to get very deeply involved.
Wanda Bertram is spokesperson for the Prison Policy Initiative, a national organization that conducts research on issues surrounding mass incarceration. She says nationwide, jail and prison deaths are trending upward, especially those related to intoxicated inmates.
Throughout the country, we see failures to deal in particular with folks who are in the middle of a substance use crisis. Only 54% of jails in the country, for instance, provide any kind of medication for withdrawal.
She says understaffed medical departments can be helped by reducing prison and jail populations.
The real cause of these needless deaths is over-incarceration, and counties should be investing in community solutions.
All right, Becca Habegger joining us right now. She has been following this for us. Becca, I want to talk about oversight because the Sheriff's Office told you there's not a lot for medical staff, right?
Yeah, the Sheriff's Office is quick to point out there are several layers of oversight for them. That includes the Community Review Commission and Independent Inspector General, also the District Attorney's Office. But all of those organizations and people, they're tasked with investigating allegations of misconduct by Sheriff's Office employees. Now, adult correctional health staff aren't subject to those. And Alex, we should know that right now, Sacramento County remains under something called a consent decree. Think of it like a legally binding performance improvement plan. The agreement outlines steps the county must take to improve its mental health and medical care, suicide prevention efforts among inmates, and use of solitary confinement, among other issues. Reports monitoring the county's progress are due every 6 months, and the next one is coming out in July, Alex.
All right, so a lot of moving parts, something we'll definitely keep our eye on. Becca, thank you so much. All right, still ahead on to the point. Is the cost of going green in California too much? Why some families are being turned off by solar.
What's the incentive to go solar if you're not going to get enough money to make it worth your while?
All right, let's get over to meteorologist Carly Gomez. We know things are heating up as we get closer to the weekend. How bad?
Yeah, we're the coolest day of the week today. So
Okay.
enjoy that 87-degree temperature. Tomorrow will be in the 90s and then pushing triple digits by Saturday. A heat advisory expands from Redding all the way down to the Grapevine. We are looking at triple-digit temperatures from about 100 to even 108 in some spots. But as we get a little closer to home, take a look at this. We're seeing a little bit of a carve out here. This is areas around the Delta that'll be affected by the winds and some cooling temperatures here. So not exactly going to reach triple digits in these spots, but we will start seeing triple digits into the valley spots, Sacramento, all the way down to about Stockton, Modesto. This does take effect Saturday, 11 a.m. until about 8 p.m. So about a one-day thing for the heat advisory. But here's what you need to know. The heat illnesses, just know the signs. We all know what it's like to be outside. It's hot out there. Maybe you're playing sports, you're running, whatever it may be. You're thirsty, you're dizzy, you're nauseous, you're sweating a lot. But the difference comes when it becomes an emergency here to a heat stroke. You're not sweating. You're red, you're hot, your skin is actually dry, and you have a headache. So know those signs here. When it transfers into a heat stroke, you need to get some help and make sure that person is safe. Now let's take a look at our daily almanac. As we hit 87 today, the average is 89. We are on par overnight, but we're slightly below average for today's high, which has been nice to see. In the Big Mountain backyard, mid 80s to upper 80s, 90 degrees Marysville right now, at Tahoe at 73. With weather headlines, you're looking here at some smoky, hazy conditions. We saw that in the afternoon hours. That'll continue every day as we start moving into the overnight, early morning hours. It's clear, but by the afternoon, things start getting hazy again. Warming trend on the way as we move into the weekend with that heat advisory Saturday. Here are those wind gusts pushing through the Delta, stronger for coastal areas. We're going to see this every night as well. First day of summer, that is tomorrow. We'll be looking at 1:51 p.m., 91 degrees, and your 10-day forecast will bring us triple digits by the weekend.
All right, Carly, thank you. Next, on to the point, more Californians are being turned off by solar. Tonight, we look into the cost of going green and why it isn't adding up for some California families. Welcome back. More and more Californians are being turned off by solar as their PG&E bills rise. Consumers say they're picking up more of the bill. And tonight, ABC 10 anchor Laura Painter is looking at the cost of going green.
That's right, Alex. For years, California was eager to subsidize solar panels and other similar upgrades. Typically, when it comes to going solar, you had to pay more upfront, while subsidies and long-term efficiency savings made the investment worth it over time. But now that mentality is shifting as incentives from private utility companies like PG&E go away.
I said I want to put as many panels as we can on the house so that we can keep our electricity bill down.
Cindy and Paul Harmon have lived in their Auburn home for more than 3 decades, raising their kids, growing their garden, and installing dozens of solar panels in an effort to go green and reduce costs over time.
When our system gets cooking and the days get longer, we don't pay anything for electricity at all.
Many homeowners, like the Harmons, have bet on the long-term savings of going solar, but now the math of going green is changing. Typically, when solar customers generate extra electricity, they can store it in a battery or sell it back to the power grid. If they sell it, their utility company would give them a credit, lowering their energy bill. But a unanimous vote by the California Public Utilities Commission in 2022 that took effect April 2023 cut solar incentives dramatically, leaving new solar customers with smaller credits from private utilities by at least 75%.
There are lots of benefits that used to be counted when we looked at the costs and benefits of solar, and the PUC completely changed that calculation, so much so that they slashed the payments that people who have solar on their rooftops get for extra power that they sell back to the system. And that made it economically not feasible for a lot of businesses and California families.
Now, many homeowners question whether those savings and subsidies that made the transition to solar possible still balance out the higher upfront costs. I sat down with former CPUC Commissioner Loretta Lynch for answers.
Why would the CPUC vote in favor of that?
I think that the regulator has become the regulated. They are just too cozy with PG&E, and when PG&E says jump, Instead of saying why, they say how high.
I reached out to PG&E about the CPUC vote. They say, quote, incentives need to be fair and equitable for all customers. Because of the state policy, non-solar residential customers today pay 15% more per month to subsidize the electric bills of those with rooftop solar panels. The CPUC said in December 2022 that, quote, the decision improves the pricing structure and credits to new rooftop solar customers of PG&E, Southern California Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric. The new tariff supplements and bolsters federal incentives, and the decision has no impact on existing rooftop solar customers, maintaining their current compensation rates. Although the new metering rates only apply to new solar customers who started solar after April 2023, solar customers like the Harmons will be subject to the new rates 20 years after their solar system was first turned on.
What's the incentive to go solar if you're not going to get enough money to make it worth your while?
The Harmons have already seen what it's like to pay more for electricity. A few years into their solar use, the Harmons say their solar system was broken for more than 7 months. They say they paid hundreds of dollars more for their utilities during that time.
So that shows you when you don't have solar and you're getting billed for electricity at the high rates, you're paying a lot more.
Solar advocates like Bernadette Del Chiaro with the California Solar and Storage Association oppose the change in incentives from private utility companies, saying it makes solar unaffordable.
It was a steep reduction in the value, and it took effect basically right away. And so there was no adjustments to the industry. And so the result of that, consumers predictably stopped going solar. Our market is down 60 to 80%.
In 2006, California launched a Million Solar Roofs initiative, jumpstarting the clean energy industry in the wake of rolling blackouts and the Enron scandal. By 2019, the state hit its Million Solar Roofs goal, calling for a new goal, 1 million solar batteries. A year prior, in 2018, State Senator Scott Wiener passed SB 700 to incentivize solar batteries through consumer rebates managed by the CPUC. But solar advocates believe progress stopped under the Newsom administration, who appoints commissioners to the CPUC. They say since 2022, some incentives have been slashed for homeowners, businesses, schools, and more.
It's very un-California. It's hard to even recognize California right now when it comes to clean energy policy. We used to be the world's leader when it comes to solar energy. People look to us for how to build a vibrant, affordable, diverse market.
The change in incentives has impacted thousands of jobs, and dozens of businesses have closed or left the state.
The question right now for the solar industry of California is, have we hit rock bottom yet, or is there more decline to come?
In 2020, California mandated all new home builds must have solar panels on them. This has added tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of a new home. Solar advocates argue with less solar incentives, those homeowners are now shouldering those added costs for longer.
While solar is still a really good investment, you have to wait longer for the system to pay for itself, right? The whole idea is you save on your utility bill, and the upfront cost of the solar system pays for itself over time.
Del Chiaro says it used to take about 5 years to have your solar system pay for itself. But now she says that range is about 10 years.
For a lot of consumers, that's just too long to wait.
What would you say to homeowners, businesses, consumers who are struggling with solar, trying to make it pencil out?
I would say still give it a good, fair shake. Take a look, see if it works for you.
Some payment options include leasing your solar, rolling your solar into your mortgage, or third-party financing if you don't have equity.
What do you think is the right path for California and solar companies?
We need to be putting solar wherever it's possible. Let's go solar with or without the PUC. And then let's change out the people who are standing in the way of really reaching our climate goals.
As for the Harmons, they're bracing for any changes that may come their way, but worry about other customers and the future of solar.
What is the incentive? If you're going to penalize people for getting solar, why get solar? And where's the argument that we are green California when you're doing things like this?
Laura, a lot to take in. And we do want to point out that California is not the only state to change their solar incentives, right?
Yeah, Alex, that is correct. And now some efforts are underway in other states to add those incentives back. In fact, Nevada's utility regulators approved restoring retail rate net metering for their existing customers. After taking some incentives away, they reportedly saw a 32% loss in the state's installation sector and a loss of more than 2,500 jobs. In Arizona, a state Supreme Court ruling ended up sparing thousands of homeowners who leased their solar from paying state property taxes on it. The solar advocates say rulings and votes like these could point California back in the right direction. And Alex, I did reach out to the CPUC, PG&E, and Governor Newsom's office. They all referred me to statements online by the CPUC and PG&E, which are referenced in this story.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. And you already know we will continue to follow this story. Stay with us. We're back after this short break. Today is Juneteenth. It is a national holiday that commemorates the ending of slavery in the United States. And one woman in Texas has been honored, the grandmother of Juneteenth. Back in 2016, Miss Opal Lee walked 1,400 miles from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. to draw attention to the date. Then in 2021, President Biden signed the Juneteenth holiday into law.
Let me leave this with you. I want you to make yourself a committee of one to change somebody's mind.
And Lee was recognized last month with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.